Welcome to the EP Source. My name is Isaac Ferland. I own a protection and consulting company, and our goal here is to deliver quality concepts for the principal and practical practices for the practitioner in the field of executive protection. Today we're going to get into the do's and don'ts of private aviation, and I want to walk you through kind of the sequential process of going to the airport, getting on the plane, getting to the next location, and getting off the plane with your principal. So to kick things off, I want to talk about a few key terms that are good to know when you're dealing with aircraft, personal aircraft, corporate aircraft, also dealing with chartered aircraft. These are terms that are pretty universal. So fixed base operator is the first one. This is the terminal in which private aircraft fly in and out of. Whether you own an aircraft or whether you're chartering an aircraft, this is typically where you're going to get your principal on and off the bird at. Pilots, pretty common term, but pilots and crew, this could be a stewardess. This is the pilots of the aircraft. Good to understand who they are and what their job entails. And then knowing the position on the aircraft where the owner or the renter sits on that aircraft, because there is a preferred seat typically that the owner uses on larger aircraft. If they have a back bedroom or an office type of space, more of your Gulfstreams and Bombardier aircrafts, that may be a preferred area where the client sits. But if it's a single zone aircraft that's smaller, there is definitely a seat that is typically reserved for them. So we'll show that in this. Some other key considerations when we're going to an airfield. Airfields are typically pretty secure. A lot of times they will have their own security parameters. Their access control is pretty good in terms of who they let in and out of the runway area, the hangars, and the FBO. So take that into consideration as you're getting on and off of aircraft. In terms of it being a transitional space, it is a little bit more secure once you get through the gate or you go through the FBO as you're approaching the aircraft. Some FBOs will allow you to pull right up to the plane door, which is phenomenal. This is good to know beforehand if you are driving the principal to the plane. What is the procedure for entering a code or communicating with the FBO to get through that gate to get to the aircraft? Other FBOs, you have to walk through their little terminal to get right out to the plane. Now, some FBOs will have kind of an overhang that they allow you to pull the plane through, so coordinating with the pilots or the charter company, so that way they know when you're arriving, the plane can be waiting for you. That's super helpful as well to make the transition flow a little bit smoother. Let's talk about this process and transition. Make sure that you make contact with the pilots before arrival. Make contact with the charter company. Let them know that you're on your way. Make sure that the timelines work out and that the estimated time of arrival makes sense. Try to also pre-stage the luggage in the vehicle so the heavier, more odd-shaped objects are towards the back. It's going to make it easier for yourself and for the pilots who are loading it onto the plane to weight and balance how they move things around, especially on smaller aircraft. They're going to be making sure the weight and balance is correct before you take off. For a personal note for the protection team, understand that aircraft have weight limits. So the amount of fuel they're carrying, the amount of luggage they can carry, varies greatly across all the different types and sizes of aircraft. If you're on a if you're on a turboprop or a smaller like a King airplane, it's going to be there's a lot more restrictions on weight versus a Gulfstream, Bombardier, Falcon. Those are going to have a lot more capability for weight, but definitely don't make the weight and balancing your issue by bringing a bunch of team bags and kit. If you have to do something with more equipment, try and have that pre-stage or coordinate with an advanced team that's going to be on the ground. Upon arrival, after we have determined if we're going to be able to go through the FBO or pull up directly to the plane, our first and foremost worry is making sure the client gets on the plane effectively and safely. So escort the client out of the vehicle, just like any other transitional space, get them onto the plane and get them situated. Now, this is where I'm going to talk about where the principal typically sits. I'm going to put up a graphic here that shows the fuselage of a plane and where the seats are. So typically it is on the left side when you walk into the aircraft, facing forward. Now, traditionally, the reason that this exists is this is where the principal can effectively look and communicate with the pilots. They're also forward-facing, and all the controls are built into the armrest there. So for lighting, for up and down of the windows, music, all of those things are typically positioned right there. Some other aircraft will have an iPad or something that can manage all these controls, so they can just take that with them throughout the cabin, but this is typically where most people will start once they get onto the aircraft. Once the principal is secure, we can go back and make sure that the rest of the luggage is getting moved into the plane, help the pilots make the process go smoother. If you have a two-man team, the person who goes with the client, the other person can help speed up that process and make it happen smoothly. Now, after we've gotten the luggage on the plane, we're getting ready to go. Our goal is to keep this window of showing up to the aircraft and leaving as short as possible. We want to make sure that we don't leave anything in the vehicle. All the client stuff is on the plane. Then you can grab your luggage and get onto the plane. One other consideration is not all aircraft allow you to access the baggage mid-flight. So if you need a backpack that has your work materials, medical supplies, bring that with you on the plane and have it packed efficiently so you know where all of your medical supplies are. If you have snacks, water, it's a great time to rehydrate when you're actually in flight to get yourself a snack and whatnot, but make sure that you have your bag packed accordingly. So once we get onto the plane, understanding where the principal sits, it's good to know that we want to be as unobtrusive as possible. So understand that the environment of these aircraft are for recovery, they're for work, they're for the client getting a break from everything else that's going on. So you want to be as unobtrusive as possible. So think of being seen and not necessarily heard unless you are having a communication about where you're landing. If you're rolling right into an operation, you want to go over some stuff. Don't do that immediately when you sit down. Let them relax. Maybe they have some work to get going. Let them do that, and you sit as best as you can, out of sight, out of mind. Smaller aircraft, this is a bit harder. Larger aircraft, there's typically a table or a four-seat little table you can sit at, or a divan or a couch. You can sit there and give the principal as much space as possible. After the plane is packed up and we're taxiing, the flight attendant or the pilots, if it's a smaller plane, they're going to give a safety briefing. Make sure that you're paying attention during this time. As we're not wheels up yet, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to your surroundings still. You're still not in the air, so there's risk that can still happen. But making sure you're paying attention to the safety procedures and whatever the pilots are communicating. This will ensure if there is an emergency, you can help the client in that situation. Where's the emergency exits? Think about all of these things. Once your wheels up, we want to be mindful of that space that we talked about, giving the client, making sure they have enough room to work and do whatever that they're going to do. Bring a book, bring some things that you can work on if you're talking through or going through advanced stuff, you're working on the future operations that you have coming up with the client. Work through those things, give them the space while we're in the air. So now we're going to transition to what landing looks like and getting into an airport and leaving that airport. So once we're coming into the airport, hopefully you've pre-coordinated with whichever FBO that you're coming into, a vehicle rental, or you have an advanced team that's going to pick you up at this location. FBOs are great. They can help coordinate a lot of things like vehicles. You can figure out where you're landing, what time you're landing, and help describe to the advanced team where to go to help pick up the client. But once we are wheels down and we are coming to the FBO, we want to make sure that we are limiting the time from getting off of the aircraft to getting in the vehicle. So again, first priority is making sure the principal moves from the aircraft to the vehicle, and that's taken care of once they're situated and comfortable. Then we just help make sure that all the luggage from the aircraft gets moved into the vehicle, make sure nothing was left behind. We'd like to do just a quick sweep of the aircraft, especially if it's a charter, not a privately owned aircraft, just to make sure nothing was left behind. If it's corporate aircraft, maybe there's other events that the plane has to continue on to, so make sure that you just don't leave anything of the clients behind. Once we get off the aircraft and we have all the luggage in, make sure we have a head count of all the team's equipment, all of the principal's equipment, and then we can move forward from there. This is a review of the entire process of flying as a protector, a few considerations and things to take into account when you're moving with a client. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. Happy to chat about this. If you're a principal looking for professional protection, you can reach out to us here at the EP Source, and we can get you connected with a vetted company who can provide any of the services that we talk about throughout our videos. Otherwise, I appreciate your time stopping by on this video. Have a great rest of your day.